We are back at another episode of Hempire. I'm Pete Bahrenburg. Again, I'm here with Nick DiFrancesco, CEO and host of PureWell. I'm also here, Nick, with a couple of special people. How you doing today?
I'm good, Pete. Of course, you're going to tell me we got a loaded show today. So let me hear who we got.
We actually are dealing with, the bona fide hustler himself, John Monopoly, and he's here along with two pioneers, not just to the industry, but entrepreneurs themselves in the cannabis field. We're talking about Umi and M-1, one half of Dead Prez. How you guys doing today?
Yeah, super.
We're doing great. Thank you for having us. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys for making the time. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
That's what we do.
So let's just kind of get into it, John. Obviously you've worked with some of the biggest rappers out there, Kanye West, Busta Rhymes, Missy Elliott. Now you're in the cannabis space to create something that supports those people who have been targeted and convicted of their use of cannabis. Of course, it's near and dear to our hearts. Tell me more about how you came to this project and how you, M1 and Umi, are in this together.
So I met him some years ago, maybe, 3 or 4 years ago, when I was working with Kanye. M was brought on by Kanye to consult on his presidential election. And we just became friends. We kind of, we were rocking together and, working together. And, when you're in close quarters, you get a mutual respect for somebody based on their skill set. I think he respected my skill set and vice versa. I saw how he was adding value to my brother's business, and I always wanted to do something with him. So, when he came at me years later and, was like, yo, we could work on something together, I jumped at the opportunity based on our relationship and based on me always wanting to do continued work together. And yeah, that's how we connected. And I've been with them. I got on this year, and it's been amazing.
Urban Aroma is a big supporter of the Weldon Project that is working to get cannabis prisoners pardoned. You matched a $30,000 pledge to Mission Green. Of course, Cannabis Radio listeners know all about Weldon Angeles. How did Urban Aroma and Weldon Project get together?
To add on to your last question, John is a fine connoisseur of cannabis. So yes, we work together with Kanye West, but more so, we have a mutual understanding of what cannabis is as a phenomenon. The same way hip hop music and culture is phenomenal, cannabis is phenomenal, and John more than understood that space. I knew his connections in that space, and I knew that they would be invaluable, bringing the type of light and energy from a community that celebrates cannabis and has all through culture and put it in the right light. So I just want to give, him kind of like, that back as that is the mutual respect that I have for Mr. John Monopoly. On to Weldon Angelos. We were introduced to Weldon because of our work, Urban Aroma, not only being a place for culture and cannabis, but activism. We and Umi and myself have been all over the world for 20 some odd. I ain't trying to age myself, but close to 30 years trying to change people's opinion about how we see the world, about rights and about just how we feel about each other. And we know that cannabis has been the thing in the room that binds with a lot of good and important people. A lot of important connections have been made over a joint. And
that's true.
That is very
true. And with that being said, we recognize Weldon as a mover and a shaker in that space. He, creating Mission Green came out of his personal experience. Like you said, Weldon, he was incarcerated behind cannabis. That where he stands is pushing the envelope, especially in the political space. He's confronting politicians and people in office to put exactly their money where their mouth is and do what they said they would do, Biden. And which he went to meet with Biden recently, you know what I mean, on behalf of us. And I think people need to know he's that kind of champion, and that's why we wanted to be involved with him and do that kind of work. So yeah, I don't know.
No, I mean, and it doesn't stop there either, right? I think when you talk about just us being in the position to be change makers, I think that's what we kind of gravitated towards doing music.
trying to put our ear to the street and activate people. And so I think that the mission green is something that you can touch and see, right? But I mean, we're on the street daily, and what we try to do is give back. I think when you talk about cannabis, M said it right. You know, you have a culture, there's a community there, and then there's politics that's surrounding the plant. I think when you look at it in the three-dimensional light is the proper way to look at it. So Urban Aroma wants to kind of forge this new way to look at it and stop just making it a capitalistic moment. That's what the government is really trying to do. So I think together and with John's, awesome leadership, I think we can forge this voice and speak on behalf of a whole lot of people.
Oh, and that has to be done for sure, because unfortunately, everybody's a little too quiet about it, and the situation has gotten way out of hand now. And we got to really start, in the community, start that local kind of grassroots, and that's how you're going to kind of expand outwise. You're never going to start from the top down. You got to go inside out.
And and again, this is why we're doing this show, because there's so many people don't even understand that. They don't understand the fight and the struggle that's going through from the streets all the way up to the top. And again, this is what we're here to do, educate and understand the trials and tribulations of not just your aches and pains, but why people are trying to get this legalized or trying to get people pardoned, that it's not that big of a deal for certain, it's insane what's going on right now. And that's why we're so excited to have you guys on here to talk about it, to be honest with you, because we're getting it from a different point of view. And, okay, so let's talk about, let's talk about some Biden. Let's talk about a couple things. M-1, you signed a letter along with 150 artists to ask President Biden to pardon all of those in jail for marijuana offenses. M-1, you said you wanted to see how far Biden would go on this promise. This is a test. Let's see what happens. Now, nothing happened. So what's the next step?
If you put all your eggs in the Democratic Party's basket, that is upsetting. I have not. I'm pardon me. I'm still the same M1 from Dead Prez as I was as a revolutionary. I don't support the Democratic Party. I do understand the tool of using the democratic process. So I didn't think that Biden was going to do jack shit. But let me tell you, Weldon, more than me, Weldon got Lil Baby. He got Drake. He got Lil Yachty. He got, come on. Like that in itself, to get like the mainstream artists to speak on this, that in itself, that mattered more than them talking to Biden, because I don't think Lil Baby's invested in the Democratic Party either. You understand?
Right.
So
yeah,
to me,
fair, totally fair.
Showing the people. I could be wrong. He might run for president. I don't know. I don't think so. But,
it would be one interesting campaign. That's for sure.
Well, and I think it's true, though, getting that awareness out. I meant to say it's frustrating because we hear it time and time and time. I say it every single time. It's falling on deaf ears. I say this narrative every single show we have, but it's the fact that you think Democrat, Republican, that's not really, it's,
all the same.
It's all really the same. Let's be real. It's just the fact of something happening. Right? Something changing, whatever side you're on. And the fact of you're talking about a plant that helps so many people out in this world, no deaths that are related to it, on just, from athletes to a housewife to an older person to a child. I mean, everybody brings, well, actually, it was kind of funny what you said. Cannabis brings a lot of people together from a lot of different life spaces, right? Different demographics, different races, it doesn't matter. A lot can be done over a joint, right? No, but it's true. I mean, there's so many people that you can connect with on cannabis and really have no other similarities to that person, and just say, we can both agree, or we can all agree that cannabis should be the future of a lot of medical conditions, of a lot of different ways without side effects, but also that it helps. Urban Aroma embraces the idea of social equity-driven cannabis. What is the end goal when you talk about being social equity-driven? Where would you take it for this project to compete that mission?
let me throw this at you real quick, and this is like a real passionate thing of ours because, you know, coming up, me and M were avid smokers, right? And me, legacy operator from day one, 1996 or something like that's real talk. So, and I mean, and I was forced to use the plant to economically put myself in position to eat because of. Basically, I was not going to slave for $1, and what they want us to do as black men is crazy. So, because of our defying the quote unquote law at that time, we were harassed. I mean, I can't tell you, smoking a joint in the hood from 1992 to about 2012, it was all bad. They were using it as a vice to lock up black men, especially, to just throw us in the system and to use that later to come up with this 3-strike shit. So even when we talk about releasing prisoners that's on cannabis, you got to go further than just that one crime. If you got 2 or 3 strikes and there were 2 strikes that was cannabis oriented, that 3rd strike, you should be retracted. You should come home. And like, it's a whole bunch of shit going on that this is so personal to us. And so when you talk community that's been manipulated and been ostracized based on the plant that they're now trying to say is legal and it's all good, fuck that. This is not the right, that's not the right step. And you're belittling all of these people that you put through chaos. And so now, because we have a platform, we're shining. And when you said, what's the next step? The next step is to keep stepping. Like,
right.
That's all we
Right.
can do. Like, we're not
Make noise.
We're not
You
expecting.
got to make noise.
That's it. We have to make noise, but we do it in a real organized way. And we also do it in a way that goes back to the community. Everything that we do is for somebody that's bigger than us. It's not for us per se, but shit, maybe it's for my daughter that's coming. You know what I'm saying? And if I can put the proper perspective out there about what cannabis really is about, plant medicine wise, then we have to now start looking at why the government is doing what they're doing as it relates to regulation. Cannabis should be like aspirin. It should be an over-the-counter
Right.
situation. It really should be. I mean,
I'm agreeing with you. 100% agreeing with you.
Right. So I mean, the passion is I mean, you know, we say Urban Aroma because it is a directory that we're trying to put the proper perspectives on the plant medicine, but at the same time, this is something that's internally in our heart because we suffered from this shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? I can't tell you how many times this dude went to jail because we were smoking in the fucking car. You know what I mean?
I want to just add on to this and throw this to John because, you know, social equity and all these code words that have developed for cannabis, which used to be called weed, and all, you know, but it's about turning the system right side up. You know what I mean? I think it's an upside down system that's being turned right side up. So what that does is give the legacy operators and the people who slaved and paid the price for it the ability to be the owners and controllers of our own destiny and fate, and wire all this political madness that entangles the whole thing. So, again, there's so many examples of how that can happen. Absolutely. But I think, what's happening in New York City, what Mayor Eric Adams sees, and the statements that he makes, which are contrary to what's going on in higher government, because he knows local government in New York City benefits like a motherfucker from cannabis. And I'm not talking about this.
There's a lot of places.
Yeah, exactly. So, social equity has, some of its really bright spots, like the hat that John is wearing is from Al Harrington's brand Viola, one of the biggest black cannabis brands, and who is spreading out the idea about cannabis, not just having to be a grower or having to be a seller, but so many places in the economy in between. And Al has been leading that space. And I don't know, John, maybe you want to speak to kind of like how you see Al or that relationship as social equity. You know what I'm saying? I hope I'm not putting you on the spot with that.
Yeah, no. I mean, Al's company, Al and Dan Pettigrew, have this brand, Viola. It's over 10 years old, and it's the largest black-owned cannabis brand, cannabis company for that fact. And what they're doing is amazing. And how we're working with them and kind of connecting us as a crew or a union of people of color in the cannabis space is important, so that we can grow together and learn from one another and benefit from one another's businesses and support one another. And yeah, I mean, you know, they have a lot going on that's amazing in the space, just like Urban Aroma does. And I'm happy to be, you know, working with the company. And, you know, these brothers, Umi and M, are so respected in the culture that it's just, you know, it's perfect to align myself with somebody like them. It's really an honor to be down with them.
We're tying it all together. And that's what we need.
Well, yeah, like you said, it is definitely a learning process, because as people know certain specific skills or maybe certain, maybe categories of the plant or different applications for it, you're not going to learn these ideas until you kind of sit around and kind of share and, you know, maybe smoke something here or there too while you're doing it. But yeah, you're going to learn from each other, and that's going to help, you know, create a better narrative for, you know, getting this out there on a broader scale.
Absolutely.
You know, it's funny. We've been trying to, you know, obviously we've got this podcast, Hempire. Purewell's been around for a minute. I've been in cannabis for, you know, a long time. I mean, obviously partaking, but being part of business for about 10 years, have our own farms out in Pueblo in California that we grow. Now, I'm always on the other side I'm on the hemp side, because a lot of the problems that we're having with cannabis, I could sell into all 50 states. I could worry about banking. I could do all these things. But it was really the education of understanding why this plant was beneficial. And it wasn't just about, listen, there's nothing wrong about smoking weed. I'm just saying, but when we're trying to get it to a mainstream level, we got to bring something else. So we always push forward with education or the benefits of the plant, or trying to get the right people behind it. And it doesn't matter, black, white, orange, purple, blue, it doesn't really matter. Again, that green brings everybody together. But it's the narrative of every different direction we're trying to go. I mean, look at the way you're trying to do it from back in the day, the way we're trying to do it, the way the athletes are trying to do it, the way the I mean, it's just crazy. And everybody's trying to push for the same narrative, but coming at it from so many different directions.
I want to add on, because I don't want you to miss. The point that you're making is so incredible. When you talk about athletes, we made a connection with the incredible Isaiah Thomas. And many don't know the work that he's doing with One World Pharma and CBD and hemp.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he's, you know, the biggest grower of hemp in South America. And so, yeah, it's like not just to see this only as plant medicine. He's forming machine parts with hemp to replace parts in vehicles. I mean, there's so many ways to go with this. That's
totally wild.
And you're worried about smoking weed on a street. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, how did we get from there to there? No, this is going to be making parts on a car one day. All right, and you're giving me some shit for smoking some weed, like. And not
to mention that if you grow a hexameter of hemp, you clean the air.
Yeah,
like it's a certain amount of hexameters, a certain amount of square miles, but you clear the air. I mean, like, it's so many things. I mean, talking about going to take over plastic, talking about, you know, we can make clothes. It's so much. This may be the most important plant on the earth.
It's funny. All the shit they talk about, they want to fix out there, yet they keep one thing down. They can do it all. I mean, you know.
And it's funny. We're talking about New York, and of course, former Governor Andrew Cuomo signed the bill to get cannabis legalized in New York State on the way out. Now, Chuck Schumer is pushing hard to get federal legalization passed. Why is that New York Mayor Eric Adams disconnected with the leaders in Albany and DC? I mean, that's what we're seeing a lot of disconnection statewide, citywide, obviously federal-wide.
Yeah, Mayor Adams, he's real slippery. First of all, let's start there. He's a salamander of sorts, right? Like, he's a slippery dude. He's a little slippery. So, like, he wants to be in every room and he wants to be liked by everyone. I had lunch with Mayor Adams, and I'm gonna tell you, When he was with me, he was a criminal. You know what I'm saying? That's what he told me. He said, I used to be
Change that tune. Sing that tune change real quick.
Listen, so depending on the room that he's in, he's going to change his disposition and his politics. And it's weird because he's saying exactly the opposite of what the state is saying. And I think it's strategic on his part, right? But it's very confusing for anybody in the space. And I think that's his style. Like, but don't take him serious, man. Don't take him serious.
I got to say this about the federal government. That bureaucracy may never understand how to juice cannabis correctly. But the cities, the states are overwhelmed with the benefits of what cannabis can bring to the community.
Yeah.
So on the federal level, they haven't figured out how to make the fruit in the juice. And on a local level, we already juicing. It's good over here. So I think it behooves us to have this united, solid voice, the power to the people, of the people, to change the tune of people going upward. And again, it's hard to talk up because these guys don't hear very well. But with a united voice, then we begin to say what matters and how we're going to act about it no matter what. And even if that means civil disobedience, which already we've been doing. I mean, that's why we are legacy operators, because we operated in a time where we were criminalized. But lo and behold, this is a heroic product.
Right.
This is
right.
This is mighty. And so it's on us to unite our voice as legacy operators.
Yeah.
And that's what Urban Aroma is doing, creating a kind of a platform that can engage people and do that in that kind of way. You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's unite this voice. Let's make it make sense. You know what I mean? So I don't really know what to say about the federal government. Most of the time I say fuck.
I was going to say fuck them as well. So, yeah.
Well, no, you were saying it's a close quarter market. That's just how it's always been. So when the government sticks their finger in it, they got to be recognized. They have to be recognized at first. I'm not hearing enough about the culture. I'm not hearing a lot about what people really started to do this. And look, again, it brings all different types of people together for a lot of different reasons. But is it really harming anybody? I mean, is it okay that maybe somebody shouldn't be prosecuted as much as they were because of marijuana? I mean, is it okay that people want to use it because they've been in a car accident, have degenerate diseases, have some type of anxiety or epilepsy or all these types of things, or maybe they just want to chill out because gas prices are out of fucking control and the country is in mass hysteria and they just want to chill out with their friends and their family or just by themselves. So it's insane what we're going through to have to do this. And
take care of your body, take care of your mindset or your life well-being. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit fucking ridiculous. I agree. I
mean, look at the topics we're talking about for someone that just doesn't want to be on something that has side effects. It doesn't want to be on someone that, I mean, seriously. I mean, we're talking to a lot of athletes and we've talked to a lot of different people on the show and all of them are saying it's nice. The NFL is changing their tune. NHL kind of turns the other way, even they're testing positive. UFC, of course, we just talked to somebody from UFC. And again, it's the same thing with, it's really the same thing. Everybody's saying, I found this out myself because nobody really told me, or I was in cannabis before. And, we say cannabis, you're right. We said weed. The reason why we say cannabis now is because there's so many different arms to it. And because there is a hemp side, there is a marijuana side, there is an industrial side, and cannabis is kind of like the big cat. You have lions and you got tigers. But people need to understand that there's a difference between hemp and marijuana, or why we use hemp for industrial reasons. And it's not just like what people think we're selling on the streets or in dispensaries. People are using them for clothes and ropes and things like this. So cannabis is the clinical term. And I think that's why it's migrated to kind of give it a little bit more respect. But I mean, I hear you. Of course, we always say weed.
I think Big Pharma ought to give it that much respect. If anybody is going to give it the respect, it's going to be Big Pharma. They're the people with the lobbyists in DC trying to keep that thing on lock so we don't see this as plant medicine, so it don't be legitimately on the shelves like aspirin, So, I just got to put that out there.
It's
like,
real. That's
until we
so
get
real.
lobbyists as
That's
big
real.
as Big Pharma, we might not never see cannabis as a Schedule A so-called drug. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, they're scared of it. They know what the power what it could do, so they got to keep it at bay as best
they're
as
not
they
even
can. For sure.
researching it either. They're not even putting the proper, like, America is the research capital of the world. Like, everything is about going in these labs and figuring out some shit. They haven't even properly spent the money to research the plant medicine to really talk about it. You getting these this bullshit talking about driving and while smoking, like they treating it like it's liquor all of a sudden. It's like, first of all, some marijuana actually activates your senses. It actually makes you more acute. So, some marijuana actually doses you down. Like, it's different levels to this shit. And then everybody THC wise consumes it differently based on mass, based on weight, there's a whole lot of shit. And they're not even.
Oh, I like that. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So we take offense to it, man. We take offense to it. They just passed these laws in New York about how you can actually sell chronic. And the shit is ridiculous. Like, at first they came with a stop sign. It was like a red stop sign, warning symbol. Luckily, we had some people that was voting, in that committee, and they voted that down. But it still is ridiculous. Like, they're just putting shit on the package based on what they feel, right? What they think, and not what they know. And so it's problematic, man.
Or trying to regulate packaging based off not consulting with the legacy market. We know what works. We know how to deliver the cannabis to the people. We've been doing it for a long ass time. You know what I mean? Don't try to tell us how this should look and feel and be. I mean, of course we're open to ideas, but again, we, meaning the people on this call, should be leading these conversations.
And then I'll tell you what you say. So, let me get back to one point, because I just want to let you guys know, and I'm sure you guys already know, Big Pharma, I came from pharmaceuticals. Now, not Big Pharma, I was a natural pharmaceutical company, so very different. But Big Pharma spends 10 times more lobbying money just to keep cannabis down, just for the things you just talked about. So obviously, when I got out of pharmaceuticals, I was in the medical space. Again, I was in natural, so I wasn't. Again, I would never work for the Pfizers of the world and all that. It was never me. But I'm just saying I was in a natural pharmaceutical. And when I started to be introduced to the fact that we could mix cannabis with natural molecules to make it even better, I jumped on the opportunity to start that with PureWell and everything like that. And that's kind of why PureWell came to where we are now. But it's just funny because some of the things that we're talking about of why shouldn't it be a certain way, or it's because it's being kept down. And studies have been going on in Israel since 1960. I mean, we have tons of information on studies. But you said something about the packaging. Now, I will talk about the packaging. One thing, the packaging on the fact of how to take it, dosing. There's a lot of people that even come on this show that said, I didn't know how to dose it. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to say it. So there are a lot of people that are doing that, but I like the part of the packaging. Now, again, this is different, cannabis and in my side of hemp, but what's in the product? Like, we're not talking about that. I'm talking about regulation, like making sure that the product is pesticide free, or it has what it says it has in it, or, certified organic, or whatever the thing is that I do agree with. But what you're talking about is ridiculous. I'm not what you're talking about. I mean, what you're saying, how they're labeling them. So I'm always just trying to play devil's advocate. I'm not,
You're right. We have some spaces that, that we've been able to been blessed with, and we have edibles, and I think it's so important that you have the ingredients listed, that you have the proper information that's needed. I mean, and like you said, there's a lot of newbies. It's now legal, right? So now people who have doubted the plant, and people that felt just extremely uncomfortable because it was quoted illegal. Now they're trying it and they're getting into it. So yeah, I do think there has to be directions and instructions, of course, but we just have to do it right, and we have to do the research so that we know how to do it.
Naomi said the advent of the cannabis testing labs and the rise of that we're on the precipice of that. Next, you will see us being able to test in a uniform way the product that's being delivered to us, so we can give the right ingredients and dosing on the packaging. And I 100% agree with you around all of that. I'm 100% united. But I do know that what's next, and I'm planting this in the brain of the next entrepreneurs out there, is that we need laboratories, united laboratories on behalf of the people, not government-controlled labs, that can give us results that can be uniform. You know,
yeah. So like uniform. Some of the things that we do, like personally, because we go directly to doctors and healthcare professionals. That's where Pure Well's mission is. And we do custom formulation. So we literally have to pound down the doors of doctors to do little studies in their offices to see results. Now, we can't do federal stuff, but what we can do is have these doctors do these little mini case studies in their office, or anecdotal research, or what their patients are saying. Because the bottom line is that there's so many people, there are a ton of newies. There's so many people that doubt the plant. And what it does, it's just weed. It's going to get you high. I can't see the benefits because there's a CBD store on every store corner, and there's cannabis on and everybody wants their medical marijuana cards. And I never went to school for this, so I don't know how to dose it and all this stuff. And the truth is that, so we have to do that. And we're going into doctors every single day, and we're saying, look, what do you want to do? Do you really want to help your patients of why you became a doctor? Or are you giving them a pharmaceutical that gives them side effects that we have to create another pharmaceutical to give you to get rid of that second side effect that you just gave them with the first, when you could have just gave them cannabis? And for 59 different modalities that we have on record, it's going to help them. And, we're not going to talk about the big words. We're not going to talk about all the things that we don't really want to say, but yeah, there's things about cancer in there. There are things about, a lot of different major problems that people have. So why are we trying to criminalize something, or criminalize the people about just because they want to feel better? Now, again, just smoking is fine too. Again, it's still mental health. It's still relaxing. I mean, it's still getting through with your day, or after your day, I should say, or whatever, and feeling better of whatever you're going on. But there are a lot of benefits. And again, I do want to go back to something, because I did ask you, you made a quote that said, this is a close quarters market, that it's just how it's always been. So when the government sticks their fingers in it, they got to recognize that first. I'm not hearing enough about the culture that's behind the actual plant. So I wanted to touch a little bit more about that, and I don't know who wants to speak on that, but it's a powerful quote.
Yeah, man, that's what we're talking about. The whole thing, right? Like, right. I mean, I think when you talk about the bottom line of, why are we doing this, right? We have forged our whole career on moving and shaping the community. I think a lot of that is just because where we live is just full of holes. It's full of gaps. It needs shaping. It's so many obstacles that's placed in our particular communities purposefully. And so, kind of moving forward, we wanted to kind of switch our voice, because we're getting older. Rap is a young man's sport. You know what I mean? Except for Jay-Z. But exactly. And I mean, and so as we talk about we were there in the 90s when music mattered, right? When hip hop mattered, right? When we drove and was able to breathe life into this thing that everybody disrespected, right? They said that, I mean, even like my parents was even like, that shit, turn this noise, right? And it was no support for it. I mean, it's just real, right? It was no support for us, and we stayed at it, believed in it, because it was us. It represented our culture. It was what we really, really lived. Is a lifestyle, hip hop, right? And so once we got it, we did it, we popularized it, and then it got taken from us. It got taken by Seagram's. It got taken by Coca-Cola. It got taken by a whole bunch of platforms, and then we no longer control anything in hip hop. The people that created it, like we don't control none of it. And so here we go.
Not even the messaging.
Not even the fucking messages, right? Not even the message. The content is controlled.
When something gets legs, something else has to take over.
That's right. So now when we moving forward, trying to position ourselves in yet another industry, right, that we started, right, that we popularized, that we put forth all the extra work to make this shit, because they were saying, yo, it's not only is it a taboo, but it's illegal, right? And we were able to breathe this life into this industry. And now what they want to do is take it from us again, and they want to disregard all of the culture that's behind it. And that's what the capitalistic way is in America. So I'm not shitting on the policies either. I'm not shitting on the regulations. To a degree, I do understand what you said, Nick. And I say that it you know, from some fashions, I understand them wanting to regulate the process, right? But you have to do it the right way, and you have to do it with the people that created the industry. You have to look towards us. If not, it's not going to have no culture in it. It's going to be absent culture, and it's going to be all capital, and it's not going to work at that point. And then we're going to take over. We're going to do what we're doing. We always did what we're doing. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think when I talk about a lack of culture, it just starts with the community and the ability for us to kind of press it forward. You know what I mean?
I want to add on what we said. I think, 40 years ago, they were down pressing this plant to the point that I think, it was so taboo to smoke weed. Like, we were hiding behind corners and looking. We was paranoia. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it was a real thing. You know what I'm saying? We had to hide. And this culture though kept it popular. Without culture, we would definitely not be as popular as it is. I'm not just talking about Peter Tosh and legalize it, but I'm talking about goddamn Cypress Hill, goddamn Snoop Dogg, goddamn like all our homies who put their fucking life on line, who kept this thing viable. And so, we owe the big that plays a huge part in this. You can't negate it, you can't take it away. Just like Umi said, it's close quarters, it's the fabric of what this means. So therefore, if you're going to talk about how this goes forward, you have to be able to immerse yourself in that part of it. And I don't want to re-say what Umi said, because he hit it right on the head. But I just have to say that.
Nah, that's right. It's a lifestyle, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't have said it any better.
The lifestyle, that's for sure. No change.
So John's being real quiet. He's over here. We haven't really heard too much from John. So all right. So let me forward this to John. All right. So we're reading a lot of stories about how legacy cannabis operators see roadblocks and opportunities in New York recreational market. Is there something that Urban Aroma has on its radar to not only give opportunities to the everyday people, but to those who sold weed in the neighborhoods that want to go legit?
I think we want to figure out how to involve any and everybody, specifically people of color, but any and everybody who wants to get involved with the culture. I think we're open arms. I don't know if I said that right, Umi and M, but that's how.
Yeah, you did.
Perfect. And that's the thing is that, again, I don't know if everybody really sees it from all different parts of life. And that's what we're here to expose. Everybody sees everything on a surface level, right? Like, if it's not in their own eyesight and how they live their life or what they see on a daily basis, not everybody looks around to see how everybody else is living their life. I mean, that goes with a lot of different things. So I love the fact but it is true. I mean, is because, for example, down here in Florida, if you want to have a farm, if you want to have a dispensary, if you want to have all these things, and let's say that, I mean, we live in South Florida. We live near Miami. There's some stuff that goes on in Miami on a daily, right? So there's definitely some people that've been in the game a long time, not maybe necessarily legit, right? So and so, but they have a lot of passion.
The same color.
Right, exactly. Right. So, but my point is that they got the cash, they got everything they did, they got a lot of experience, but there was a lot of things where, and they want to go legit. I mean, there's people in hemp that I know that have gone from not legit to legit being in hemp. So, but they really blocked it for cannabis. And they made it that, let's say, like, they did hit the money requirements. But they made it so that people really couldn't be legit if they weren't legit on how they got their money. Like, show us where you got your money, give us a little background. I mean, now let's be honest. If you're legit, you're not really going to the bank with all your cash. And I mean, so like, well, let's see bank statements. Let's see where just where this has come from. And so they blocked a lot of the market out when I do feel like people really did want to go legit. They didn't want to do this stuff on the streets anymore. Like they were legitimately looking to say, look, let me have this opportunity in cannabis that, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. I want to say, we've been working with cannabis pioneer Steve D'Angelo, and there's an organization called Unlock. It's a unified network of legacy operators of cannabis. That's Unlock. And, which I think is important because we have to establish how we legitimately get into the market. And you're right, those things become a problem. Nobody wants to come forward and say, I've been doing all this criminal activity, and then the government goes, you get locked up now. You know what I mean? So there has to be an amnesty. That's actually one of the first tenets of understanding what the legacy operators are about. So we can go to the government and say, look, we got a boatload of cash. Yeah, we've been doing this. You know what I'm saying? We shouldn't have to show you where it came from because I'm telling you we've been doing this. But we want to bring our money to the bank. Here, we're ready to get legit. You can tax this money. We're this is
right.
So, we have to be able to have an agreement with this, what the structure is that's being built that says, look, we're coming. But we come and trust and saying, you're not going to criminalize us because we did crim, didn't we? Okay, so we're done with that. So we're going to bring our money, and this has to be a way that we can have amnesty for all the things that happened in the past. And we're going to start, this is day one, and we move forward. And if we ain't talking like that, we're never going to have a legitimate market. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, the legacy operators will run right over whatever is being built.
Look at California. It's happening right now. 80% of the market is legacy. 20% is legal, like in terms of the revenue that's big, and it's still making a lot of money. That 20% is big, but come on, man. Like, we gonna make the same mistakes that they making? We don't have to do that. We don't have to do this. And I gotta tell you guys, we do have a noon takeoff.
I was gonna say.
Sorry.
Absolutely, I was gonna say, how can the listeners get involved with what you guys are doing? How can they do that?
Well, look, Urban Aroma, urbanaroma.com. You can find us even at Instagram if you're so socially, connected. Urban Aroma _. Urban Aroma _. We are connecting. We're connecting. Find purveyors of cannabis, people who want to be involved, culture. We're talking to the movers and shakers in cannabis to talk about exactly what the next steps are forward. And that is the platform by which we want to move people toward us. And so Urban Aroma is that. It's more than a directory, with respect to like Weed Maps, which is a huge behemoth of, in the cannabis world. We want to also be able to build a component that, of course, injects activism and moves the needle forward. So that's what Urban Aroma is about. Again, urbanaroma.com. That's how you can find us.
Check us out.
Perfect. Absolutely. Yeah. I'll definitely connect with you guys later, see if we could work on something together. I feel like we got a lot in common that we can, get at this together. So, and that's what we always like to do. All right. Well, we're out of time. I would have liked to hear more about John. I had a ton of questions about Kanye and all kind of stuff, but we got to go. Pete, why don't you take us out?
Can we do part two? Maybe. I don't know.
Let's do a part two.
That sounds good.
Okay. Done. Absolutely.
We do appreciate your time. Thanks for everything. You can find everything that we're doing on either Spotify, Amazon, iHeart, cannabisradio.com, and any other place you like to wire your podcast. So just make sure you like, subscribe. Tell us what anything else we want to ask any of the guys next time we can join them. But we do appreciate everything you guys do. And, go support the movement over at urbanaroma.com. And thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bless. Stay high.
Okay.
The opinions expressed on this CannabisRadio.com program are those of the guests and hosts and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff and management of CannabisRadio.com. Any rebroadcast, republication, or retransmission of this program without proper consent is prohibited.